Good morning, afternoon or evening. Today I've created a historical analysis video covering Poland. I will start in the First Industrial Revolution and go through the units that are unique to Poland and discuss their historical origins. Poland was reformed formally after 1918 and the end of World War I. They were confined to a small area east of Germany and given a strip of land called the Polish Corridor to have access to the Baltic Sea, which was previously German territory. This also split the German Empire in two, and by 1919 the Poles were at war with the Soviet Union in the Polish-Soviet War. This was concluded in 1921, with Poland annexing more territory to the east, forming their pre-1939 borders. After this, Poland in 1921 had a constitution written, and the Polish Sejm was formed to keep the leader of the country, Józef Piłsudski, from making himself a dictator. With dozens of political parties being unable to agree on any major decision, the government was weakened. By 1926, Józef Piłsudski launched a coup and took over without much violence. This led to an authoritarian government being in place. By 1939, Poland's army was quite large, with almost 1 million men in active service or reserves, but due to the pressure from England and France, mobilization did not take place as to not provoke the Germans. They attacked anyway, and in 1939 Poland was only partly mobilized for war and attacked by Germany starting World War II. 2 weeks later, the Soviet Union invaded Poland from the east and the country was split in two. Starting off with IR1 and the stone mine, the building that Poland gets from the First Industrial Revolution, which is the stone mine, is unique to Poland and can be placed on used stone deposits similar to an iron mine and can produce stone. This is historically not unique to Poland, obviously, but was added into the game as far as I can tell without historical basis and more just for balance, and adding a unique building that either one country could have or all similar to iron mines. Dragon's Teeth are concrete fortifications used in World War II, mostly by the Germans, to stop, expose or channel tanks. They were built in a pyramid shape out of concrete, so if a tank would try to get over the top of it, it would either get stuck or expose its underside to be shot at by anti-tank weaponry. They were also used to channel tanks into killing zones, in which anti-tank fire from multiple directions would destroy the tanks. They were quick and cheap to produce and were used extensively for defense, such as the Siegfried Line along the German side of the Maginot. In war selection, Poland has unique access to Dragon's Teeth fortifications, which is again not historically accurate, but it makes sense as they have the stone mines unique to them also. They are in-game only produced from stone and not iron like the normal anti-tank traps, and replace the anti-tank hedgehogs. They are only able to be built after building at least one stone mine. Moving on to the Polish tankette. The tankette KS, or the TKS, was a Polish tankette. It was used for infantry support and scouting as it was very small with quite weak armour. Over 550 were constructed before the German invasion in 1939. They were armed with a 7.92mm machine gun and had a speed of 40 to 46 km per hour, making them useful for their role as scouting. After the invasion of Poland, the German army used them for towing artillery and the Luftwaffe used them for snow ploughing and security on airfields. In war selection, these units are found in IR1 and replace the armoured car in the factory after researching light tanks in the arsenal. They have a great speed, good armour and a good machine gun, but they cannot fire while moving and can only fire forwards, making them a good vehicle to use to harass enemy artillery and workers. During World War II, there were many uses of cavalry in the Polish army, such the same as with all armies at the time. Poland had divisions of Uhlans which originate from 18th century in the European army and were used extensively by Poland at the time, the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. In 1720 it had the first Uhlan regiment formed, and by 1937 lancers were no longer used, but a sabre was kept. The regiments were armed with 75mm artillery guns, light tanks, 37mm anti-tank guns and 40mm anti-air guns, also having modern anti-tank rifles and weaponry. They were used mostly as mobile infantry, being mounted on horseback to move to a location then dismount to fight. There is a popular myth that Polish cavalry charged German tanks in 1939. This is untrue. Polish cavalry charged German infantry while in the open, and were later intercepted by armoured cars after defeating the German infantry. An Italian journalist found the scene of Polish cavalry and German armoured cars, and it was used as propaganda. In war selection, the Uhlan is a unit available from the stable in IR1 for Poland. It has a high damage and speed for the cavalry unit, with a generally low cost and no iron cost. In IR2 it unlocks a grenade upgrade similar to the Russian soldiers, and also throwing grenades, which do very well against buildings and even some light tanks. In World War II, after the fall of Poland due to Germany's invasion, the Polish underground resistance began. This included ordinary civilians, the remnants of the armed forces, and parts of the government. It reached its height in 1944 with estimates as high as 650,000 members of the underground state, and an army under the name of the Armia Krajowa with 250,000 members. This organization destroyed or damaged an eighth of all German railway lines to the Eastern Front, and ended up killing over 150,000 German soldiers, and destroying or damaging over 4,000 vehicles, such as armoured cars or tanks. One of the most notable events in the Warsaw Uprising, in which around 20,000 poorly armed Polish resistance fighters rose up in Warsaw against around 20,000 well-armed SS and German soldiers. This uprising was brutally put down, and leaving Warsaw almost completely destroyed. In-game, the Saboteur is unlocked in IR2, and it's trained from the barrack for quite a cheap price. It doesn't do damage directly and has low health and armor, but drops a single bomb at its feet, using an ability which is able to do great damage to units and buildings. This bomb is free from cost, but has a long reload time at 90 seconds, making it an interesting unit to use. For more information, check out my video on this unit and how to use it. Moving on to the Tankette KD in IR2. These are the Tankette KDs in-game. These tanks had the same strength as the Tankette KS, but they could also go into combat with light tanks as they were a small target and had a good autocannon, which was the 20mm cannon. In War Selection, this unit is found in IR2, and it is an upgrade from the Tankette KS. Once you train a Tankette KS from the factory in IR1 or IR2, and age up to IR2, you can upgrade your Tankette KSs into Tankette KDs directly. This unit has a fast-firing gun with quite low damage, but it is still effective at sniping enemy town halls and sniping buildings and other units, but not very good against heavy tanks such as the Maus, or the French FC tanks. The last tank for Poland in IR2 is the amphibious tank. The Polish PLNZ 130 is a Polish light amphibious tank which was developed and trialled extensively without major defects, but not produced as the Polish army did not see a use in the vehicle, believing it to be obsolete. It was armed with a machine gun or a 20mm autocannon, similar to the Tankette KD, and can also move in and out of water in marshy terrain, making it great for that environment. It was a completely amphibious tank, and could travel on water. In War Selection, the Polish amphibious tank is accessible in IR2 from the factory once researching light tanks in the arsenal. It is able to drive on land and water, and needed to have access to shallow water to be able to change to water movement mode, in which it has low vision and low speed but can still fire. The tank on land is very similar to the T-34 that the Soviet Union has, with good speed and damage. That is all of the Polish units you can find in War Selection and their historical background. I hope you all enjoyed, and let me know which country to do next in the comments. Thank you for watching, enjoy the rest of your day, and goodbye.